So, the translations are out for My Hero Academia Manga Chapter 382, and let's just say that this chapter is going to really change the tide of this war. But whether or not it's for the heroes or the villains is up to be decided, and we'll see what may actually be the case in this chapter. But first, right after this. Hey guys, how's it going? It is your boy, Manga Man Drew, and I'm here to cover the chapter for My Hero Academia Manga Chapter 382, titled You Can't Get Away, with an exclamation mark. And this was a very amazing chapter. We get some new information revealed about the Toga twice clones. We get to see Uraraka play a major role in this part of the battle potentially, as well as we get to see All For One in a different state, as well as he's confronted with probably the best and worst case scenario for him. And speaking on the worst and best case scenarios, this is going to be a running idea in this chapter when it comes to whether or not the situation that they are in is in the best situation it could be or the worst situation that it could be in when it comes to both the heroes and the villains. So let's start with that being a major topic, and this is really going to be tying into the idea of what's going on with the twice clones and their actual abilities being shown in this chapter. As we know, Twice's quirk double is able to allow him to double the body, double himself, as well as double the people that he has the measurements of, which would include characters such as Dabi, Shigaraki, and potentially even All For One. We see that potentially these characters are within the cloned Twice mob, which is very horrifying if they are able to use their quirks. However, this chapter explains that they might not be able to do so, and that it may all be tied into Toga's feelings and emotions, because in this chapter, Farabi makes a very interesting development, and it's the idea that if Toga was able to transform into Dabi or even All For One at the beginning of this war, then the situation would have been a lot worse. But the fact that she didn't may be a specific reason that they can take advantage of. And she deduces that because of the fact that she's using double Twice's quirk as a byproduct of her transformation quirk, that maybe her transformation quirk applies to whatever she is using in respects to the quirks. In that vein, when she transforms into Twice, she can only create clones of people that she has an affinity or a love for, and by that stipulation, it may apply to the quirks of the people that are cloned by Twice as well. Because we have to take into effect that this isn't Twice's double quirk, this is a Twice double quirk created by Toga using double while transformed into Twice, which means that everything that she creates may be subjected to the drawbacks of the quirk transformation itself, and therefore the love. So they more or less deduce that potentially Toga doesn't love the League of Villains, or specifically those characters, and therefore is unable to use their quirk. And we see that might actually be somewhat of the case when we also get a small moment with Toga herself reflecting on the idea that she does love Toya and Tomura, but yet they're still unable to use their quirks when created by the Twice clone. So at the very moment, she's actually more or less questioning whether or not she loves them enough. And I think the reasoning why she cannot allow them to use their quirks, and the implications that even if she transforms into them, she can't use their quirks, has to do with the stipulation of love that she has placed upon herself, and that her wanting to love someone is trying to become them. And that she wanted to become like Twice. She wanted to become like Uraraka. She wanted to become like Deku. However, she may actually not want to become like Shigaraki, like Dabi. She doesn't want to become them, and therefore she doesn't truly love them. And this is punctuated all while we have all of the Twice clones saying that all heroes have to die. Every last one of the heroes have to die. With a big double page spread of all of that being said, with an image of Twice, most likely Toga, in this darkness. So overall, this provides something very interesting and a very neat drawback to Toga's quirk when it comes to using double, and actually makes Double very much not as overpowered as it could be, but still very much overpowered in this chapter. And this chapter very much sets up the idea that Uraraka is still wanting to save Toga and allow her to smile because that's what she wants to do. She wants to see people smile. And so that's pretty much the first half of this chapter in a nutshell, but the second half is just as interesting. So yeah, that's pretty much the first half of this chapter, but the second half is where things get really good. Tokoyami is still hammering into All For One. Hawks tells him that he's on a timer and that he needs to continuously hammer into All For One before it's too late. Kami begins to chime in and help Tokoyami in this moment, alongside other heroes doing as well, thanks to the help of Jiro. However, All For One launches a powerful attack that is able to send Dark Shadow flying as he begins to monologue a little bit about how the powerful are troublesome, as we see that he has become significantly younger than what he was prior. And as we see All For One trying to escape and many of the heroes trying to chase after him. However, All For One notices Gigantomachia from a distance charging in his direction. However, it seems to not play into his favor as he thinks that it does. Because as he gives an order to Gigantomachia to finish off the heroes, we then see a mountain being thrown at All For One himself, as it is revealed that Kirishima is riding on top of Gigantomachia alongside Shindo. The implication that Shindo is at this moment controlling Gigantomachia, as he is going to be the next opponent for All For One in this moment. This chapter was very much a very amazing chapter. We get to see a little bit more into the psyche and the understanding of what's going on with Toga, the ability to use other characters' quirks, and the implication that she may not be able to use the quirks of Dabi as well as Toya because she truly doesn't love them, because she doesn't want to become them, in the very same vein as her wanting to become Uraraka and Twice, and that doing so may have affected the quirk of Double in a significant way because it comes from transformation from her quirk, and that love byproduct may be a part of it. So it's cool that we're getting this advancement and this new shift in the dynamic of the quirk, alongside seeing Uraraka still striving and wanting to save Toga in this moment and seeing her smile, as well as just seeing what happens at the end of this chapter with Gigantomachia, seeing how actually All For One is rewinding so the people that says he isn't can just shut up. And this chapter just shows that no matter who the villain or the hero is in this moment, that they have yet to really get the true upper hand on one another, and that this implication of SHINZO may be the benefit that the heroes need, or may just be what evens the battleground or the battlefield between All For One and the hero. So yeah, what do I think is going to be happening in the next chapter? Well, I think that it's very obvious. I think that we're going to be getting a little bit better understanding of what happened a few moments or a few minutes prior to what happened in this chapter. I think we're going to be seeing a little bit of what happened with Kirishima fighting off the villains. Potentially we're going to be seeing Mina fight off Midnight's killer, and we're probably going to be seeing how Gigantomachia gets freed from his dome and how SHINZO plays a role in controlling him. We don't know if it's going to be in the same vein of Shoji, where it's going to be a few minutes in the past and we see it play out in real time, or it's going to be a flashback to that moment where we don't see completely everything, but we see what is necessary for this explanation. I cannot say for 100% certainty. I do think, or at least I hope, that we don't get it in just a single flashback. At the very least, a chapter or two, or even 3, where we see a little bit more of what happened. We get to see more of the battles. I really want to see what may have happened with Mina before we get to what happened with Kirishima as well as SHINZO, and whether or not she's able to defeat the person that killed Midnight's killer, and see how her character grows from there. That's probably the most interesting part that this part of the chapter provides for me for what's going to be in the next chapter, alongside what's going to be happening with SHINZO and Kirishima and how they reached this moment. Just as a point of clarity, it is very unlikely, in my opinion, that All For One will be able to actually break out of this situation or break Gigantomachia out of SHINZO's brainwashing because of just how SHINZO's ability works. But I do think that All For One, if he knows about Shinzo's ability, would attempt to try and steal it. However, it's going to be very difficult when dealing with a character like Gigantomachia, so he may steal the quirks of Gigantomachia and incapacitating him in that moment just to give him the edge that he needs to get away, and potentially probably stealing Shinzo's quirk, but I highly doubt that he'll be able to do so, especially with the time limit that he has. Yeah, that's all I really have to say about this chapter of My Hero Academia. What did you think of the chapter? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? What was your favorite part of this chapter? And do you like the fact that Gigantomachia was revealed to be in this chapter and that Toga's quirk doesn't work exactly as it may have thought of when it comes to double? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I would love to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to see more content like this. Do all that cool jazz, and hopefully I'll be able to catch you in my next video. Goodbye!